Hello everybody, welcome back. I hope you had a good spring break. A beautiful sunny day out there today, although there's still a lot of snow on the ground. So what are you going to do? But I think it's supposed to warm up pretty soon, so I think we'll be okay. Let's see. So, announcements for today. I went through and updated my courses for all the remaining assignments, and so you're probably going to want to look in there. I'm still getting used to this whole idea of having this class as an asynchronous class, and so I changed some of the dates around on some of the assignments. Just all of them I pushed out further to give you more time, because I'm used to having the class set up where I reserve the last 3 classes or so for group project presentations. Well, this is an asynchronous class. I can't ask you to do a synchronous presentation and everybody get together. That would kind of, break the model, and I don't want to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing everything back to make it so that you have time to do some extra work on this. And what we'll do, instead of having the 3 classes for group project presentations, is I'll just have you post a video of your group project presentation and to YouTube or wherever else you want to post that, and you'll just give me a URL, and we'll see. I'll try and make it so that I can share all those URLs with everybody. Maybe you'll do it in the discussion section. Well, I'll see. We've got time for that. And because what I'd like for you to be able to see is your colleagues' work. I think that's a really valuable thing to do, particularly in graduate school, where so much of the really good things that you learn come from your interactions with your colleagues, and not right from behind the podium where your lecturer is standing. It's the people that you work with that really make your grad school experience special. I know it's hard in an asynchronous format, but that's the way it goes. Let's see, other announcements. So I had a couple of people come up with questions about, well, this is a group project, but I really don't know anybody else in the class, and it's really hard for me to find somebody to work with. Well, remember, you can always have a group of 1 if you really want to. I think it's more fun, more interesting, and a better experience if you have a group of 2 or 3. But if you're whatever, if you want to do it as 1, that's okay. So remember, you can do that. This week you've got your final exam to work on. I was going to give you another lecture, but I thought, you know what? Let's just leave it so that all you work on this week is your final exam. And remember, that's a My Courses quiz, and so you'll go in, and when you start that quiz, you'll have 2 hours to complete it. So you can't start it today and then stop and then start it again tomorrow. You have to do it all in one fell swoop, and so be sure to find 2 hours in a spot that's going to be nice and quiet, or however you want it, so that you can finish your exam all at once. Shouldn't take you 2 hours. It's only 50 questions, and they're all multiple choicers, and they're directly from your Zybook, from the Zybook. Some of them are pretty hard, but a lot of them are a lot easier. So hopefully it won't be a killer for you, but it will test what you've learned from the Zybook. Now, the next part of our class is all about 2 things. It's about this project, which is an analytics project where you'll use SQL, and it's about using the Google tool sets. Now, why the Google tool sets? Because that's what you're going to use in industry, and I think you'll really like it. So the project starts out, well, let me go on. I think I've got more here. So here's a bunch of links for you for on BigQuery and the Google Analytics sample data set. And remember that Google Analytics sample data set, that's all based on real stuff from the Google Merch store. So if you look up if you Google merchandise, you'll come up with the store that's the basis for all this. And if you want to buy something from that store, you can. And your data would then become part of what you're working with. So here's a bunch of links for this. The Dubai Pulse data sets, those are data sets that are available. As you know, I taught this class in Dubai, and I thought, you guys might find this kind of interesting. So, there's another set of data that you can work with if you so desire. You could import it to BigQuery if you wanted to. You could probably do it as with your MySQL server on your own machine also, but anyhow, it's out there. That last one, 10 best practices for building effective dashboards, that's come from the Esri folks. Esri are the geodata stuff, geographic information systems, and they put together this article that's about what are the best practices for building effective dashboards. I thought it was really interesting. I've posted it to my courses. Take a look at it. Let's see. So here's our BigQuery assignment number 1, and you can read all this stuff, but I want to point you out at that bolded bullet in the bottom there. As we discussed in class, I'd like for you to export the results of these queries to Data Looker and create a dashboard that illustrates the results to your queries with verbal explanations included. So I'm adding on a little bit to this. Not only do you have to write the queries that get the answers that you need, but you need to export that to Data Looker and then create different panels that have your results and your queries and the explanations that you use to an explanation of the results that you got in your queries. So use words in text along with your query and the results that you get. You can graph that. You can, turn it into a board on there, and you should be able to find some interesting stuff on here. The queries that I give you in BigQuery assignment 1 really are straight ahead marketing kind of queries. They're the things that people who work with you in a e-commerce environment would want to know. So these things are real questions. They're not just goofy things. And now I want you to go beyond just telling me a number. The answer to this question is 12. Some of the questions are kind of like that, but I want you to put that into a Data Looker environment. Other questions are more where you need to use sentences and words to explain what you're doing. That's also straight ahead out of the e-commerce toolkit. When you're an analyst in e-commerce, people have real questions for you. You need to provide more than, in some cases, answers that are more than just a number. And for that, I want you to use words, write a paragraph, use a graphic element. If you can, give me the background to these answers. I think you'll find it pretty interesting. So hopefully that'll be kind of fun for you. And it'll get you a chance to work with Data Looker also along with BigQuery. And I think that's a useful thing also. So be sure to take a look at this stuff. The BigQuery cookbook is really good and will help you out a lot with this assignment. So here are the questions, and I think I've gone over these before. I'll probably do it next week. We've got some time this week. I'm just laying everything out there for you this week. By the way, these are all posted in my courses, so you can get the PowerPoints and the links off the PowerPoints from my courses. So here's your project proposal, okay? So this one is two formats to it, okay? So in the first format is that, the introduction, the lit review, data sources, the methodology, deliverables, project plan, blah, blah, blah. That's the traditional academic format to a proposal. Now, depending on which professor you work with for your capstone project, this could be a reasonable format for you to use for that capstone project. And remember, this project for this class is meant to get you used to doing projects so that when you have to do your capstone project, it should be I remember when I first started doing all these class projects and stuff, students did them and everything. And then a student came to me afterwards, yeah, I need to do my capstone project. And I said, well, start out with a proposal. And he said, yeah. He just dismissed me. He said, yeah, I know all about proposals. We've been doing them for your class for all this time. Yeah, no big deal. Let's just whack it together over the weekend. That's the way that you should approach your proposal for your capstone project. It's no big deal. It's just a proposal. You think about it at least for a little bit, and you put it together as best you can, submit it, get some feedback. That's what a proposal's for. And that's the way that you'll do things for your capstone. Now, the last bullet here is a little different. So if you want to, you can, let me get my cursor back here again. Where'd it go? There it is. If you want to, you can do your proposal for this class project in the form of an Azure DevOps project plan. And so this is my Azure DevOps account. You can see yours would be dev.azure.com. You're going to need to sign up. You're going to need a Microsoft account. You're going to have to do whatever it is that Microsoft wants you to do to use this tool. You get free access to it as a student at RIT, and so it's available to you. But what you'll do with this, if you haven't worked with this before, then you'll set up a new project in here, and you'll do things like, this is an example project that Microsoft makes available to you here, the health projects. And so you'll do things like fill out the About This Project section where you'll talk about the things that you normally put into a proposal. What's the overview? What's the data provenance? What, all that kind of background stuff. What's the goal of your work? All those things go into this project plan. And there's no project stats here. You will add me as a member of the project. That way I can look at this. You can add your other group members by inviting them to be members of this project. And so you can work with this thing. And then what you'll do is you'll use the Azure boards to break down your big group project plan into a number of deliverables and backlogs and sprints and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to force you to do all these different things. I'm going to let you use these tools as best you can, because this is what real projects are run in, and this will help you and your group to be able to work more effectively as a team to get your project actually done. So I'm hopeful that this will do two things. One, it'll allow you to get some experience working with Azure DevOps. This is a lot like Jira, it's a lot like Trello, it's a lot like all those other project management tools out there. And you'll get used to working with it. And so, do some digging around, figure out what you need to do to work with this thing, and then use it. And so if you want to use this instead of the or maybe, yeah, instead of the traditional academic format for a proposal, you're welcome to do that. You don't have to, but you can. And what you'll find is that a lot of these things just kind of fit into the natural Azure DevOps format. And so you're not giving up on your project proposal, you're just reformatting it a little bit. And you're making it so that you can use the Azure DevOps as part of your project planning and when you're actually working on that project, so that you as a team can keep track of what the deliverables are. You can say, this part, these are all in the to-do list for right now, but you may work on it over weekend and finish one of your deliverables. Then you push that over into from the to-do into the doing, and then into the done column. Great. The other members of your team can look at that and say, oh, I don't have to worry about that. I already did that. So all good. But I think that might be a useful thing to use, and there's tons of support out there online for it. There's LinkedIn Learning, courses to use Azure DevOps. So this might be an interesting thing for you to do. So that's a proposal. Now your presentation, these are some of the things that you want to put into your presentation about your dashboard. Now, there's a tip on the bottom there. It says, just a tip, does your analysis pass the sniff test? Do your results make sense? It's embarrassing. Now, you won't be in front of your peers, but you'll just do a recording. But it's embarrassing when you miss something and your data is just, all over the place. Well, a good way to catch that is just to do a couple of checks on it. Does it pass the sniff test? There's one BigQuery data set out there on COVID stuff that I'll show you, and I'll show you how it works. And it's easy to come up with COVID casualties in New York State of about 20-something million people. So 20 million people died of COVID in New York State. Well, does that pass the sniff test? COVID was bad in New York State, but was it 20 million people bad? Look at your data, read the numbers, and think to yourself, gee, what's the population of New York State? How many people actually live in New York? Would I have missed 20 million people dying of COVID? And the answer is, the data's wrong. Instead of every day they had a number of COVID deaths, but instead of saying, today there was one death, and yesterday there was one death, today there was one death, and so deaths from COVID should be 1 and 1, right? Well, it's not the way the data works. In the first line, deaths from COVID yesterday would be 1, but deaths from COVID in the today column would show up as 2. So it's a sum of the deaths from COVID in New York State. Does your analysis pass the sniff test? Does it make sense? In that case, no. And so that's all I've got for you this week. I want you to spend your time this week working on the final exam, and that should be interesting to you. And then we'll come back next week and we'll get into BigQuery, and we'll just open up the interface and we'll go through some stuff. And what you'll see is that your SQL queries that you used on your own laptop and in the Xylabs and everything look a lot like what we're using in BigQuery. It's just that behind BigQuery is this awesome infrastructure to support your use of this tool. So have a good week, everybody. Good luck on the final exam, and I will talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.